Thank you, Chairwoman Schakowsky, and it's good to see our new ranking member, Gus Bilirakis, as well. Good to see you both. I wanted to, let me just say, my concern, of course, we have a situation now where we have safe and effective vaccines, and we're trying to push them out. But while these vaccines provide real hope, there's new variants of the coronavirus, that are now spreading, that are highly transmissible. And for consumers, these new strains are causing a renewed panic. I'm sure you're hearing about this from your constituents. And another scramble for personal protective equipment, intense demand for vaccine appointments. But for scammers and fraudsters, this is exactly the kind of fear and desperation that they seize and thrive on. So that's why I think that this hearing is so important, not only to deal with the scams and frauds that we've seen in the last 10 months, but now, even more opportunity for scams and frauds because of the fear that a lot of people have with these new variants. And overall, the pandemic has just upended American life, pushing so many aspects of consumer lives to the online realm. And you get all these fly-by-night businesses. They're just a click away, and fraudsters that can assume different identities. And there's con artists that really pose threats to consumers' health, safety, and financial well-being. And these sellers, these unscrupulous sellers on the internet, are sophisticated. They flood fees to drive traffic to their suspect goods. They include counterfeit and substandard personal protective equipment, sham testing kits, bogus cures. But the products they're selling can endanger the health, and their online stores may just be a front to scam consumers. And the number of reports about scams originating on social media has more than tripled in the past year. And these scams, Madam Chair, have been particularly harmful to older Americans and senior citizens. I know you've been involved with the senior task force for so many years, Jan. And this isolation, a lot of these people are isolated now, these seniors, and that's left them particularly vulnerable to fraudsters. For example, online puppy scams and romance scams have risen precipitously during the pandemic. And some of the worst fraudsters are the identity thieves stealing stimulus checks and unemployment benefits from those already struggling to pay their bills. To make matters worse, these people are often targeted for fake employment scams, deceptive income schemes, and unwise investment solicitations. So I wanted to applaud both the chairwoman and Congressman Bouchon for their bipartisan work in giving the Federal Trade Commission new authority to seek civil penalties for COVID-19 scams. That was in the 2021 Omnibus End of the Year package. And that provision empowers the FTC to dole out real consequences to bad actors. They've reported losing more than 300 million, consumers have lost more than 300 million in just pandemic-related fraud. Now, one of the concerns I have, though, is that the FTC's ability to make victims whole is under threat in the Supreme Court. And that's why it's critical that the FCC step up its efforts to protect consumers. I know that Tony Cardenas has a bill to deal with this power of restitution that we feel is under threat, and he's going to talk about that. But the former FTC chairman, Joseph Simmons, I think insulated some of the worst that came out, some of these scams, because of, and was very critical sometimes of the Trump administration. But the agency really needs to show its teeth now. And because since the beginning of the pandemic, the FTC has issued numerous warning letters, but warning letters are nothing. They're really just a slap on the wrist. So I want to hear from the panel, but before that, I'd like to yield the time remaining to Tony Cardenas, who I know he has some important legislation that I mentioned.